Hello viewers, today we're going to look at buying replacement cordless telephone batteries. If your telephone has limited talk time or standby time, blanks out when you go to use it, has poor reception, bad sound quality, or behaves erratically in some way or another, it's quite likely that the battery has gone bad and needs to be replaced. Fortunately, with the advent of online shopping, this has become a very easy and economical thing to do, unlike many years prior. So let's take a look at some of these batteries here. These are, I would say, probably the 5 most common types of batteries that you'll see in phones. I pulled these out of these 5 phones over here, and as you can see, there's a pretty wide range of age and style there. If you have a telephone that's like DEC 6, which is the most current technology, it probably has something like this. This is very commonly used in VTech and at&t telephones, and Uniden used them on some of their more recent telephones. Probably won't find this in Panasonic. Panasonic's a little bit different, but anyways, so this pack is composed of 2 AAA style batteries. They're molded, if you will, together into this specific pack, and you really have to be careful when you're buying these packs, because the plugs and the actual size of the pack can be very slightly different, and if you don't get the right one, it won't fit. So the model number here on this particular one is a BT1011. Now, another thing that's going to throw you off is there are batteries that have different model numbers that are exactly the same. I can think off the top of my head the BT904 and the BT1018, I want to say. Or no, 1015, sorry, this one. This battery is exactly the same as the BT904. For whatever dumb reason, they decided to market it with different numbers. But anyways, there's a couple different numbers on here. There's the model number, which is BT1011. There's also the voltage number, which is 2.4, and the capacity, which is 900 milliamp hours. Now, the 2.4 volts is very important. You're going to see 2.4 and 3.6 volts. The voltage must be the same. You cannot use a different voltage battery. The capacity, however, can be different, and it's not going to be a problem. The capacity rating is milliamp hours. It defines how much electricity the battery holds. So more capacity will give you more talk time, less capacity will give you less talk time. Generally speaking, if you're buying a good quality replacement battery, the capacity will likely be a fair bit higher. For example, this is a BT905, and the original batteries are 600 milliamps. This replacement is 1500. So this battery is going to give you a lot more talk time than your original battery would. So let's take a look back at this one, and let's type this model number into Amazon here. Let me pull up on the computer. So I'm already on Amazon's website, and I'm going to type in. This came out of an at&t phone, so I'm going to type in AT&T. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. BT. This is actually not an at&t specific battery, so let me just do this. BT1011. Okay, so of course I've already purchased it, so it's showing up there, but okay, so as with most things, you should always read the reviews before you buy them, and as with most things, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Usually these batteries go for about $2 to $3 a piece. If you get one that's like, 55 cents, it's probably a piece of junk. Now, most of these batteries you can go on here and buy, and they'll probably be okay. There is some that are better than others. There are a few that are just garbage. I happen to like, actually, these 3 brands that are showing. I like IMAH, I like EBL, and I like, I like Flareon. Um, Things like this that only have one review and are pretty on the cheap side, I'd stay away from these. Let's see any other ones. These are also on the cheap side. They don't have too many reviews. This is a ripoff, $6 for one of these. Outrageous. Here's another one that's got only 2 reviews. I would stay away from that one. Frenzer is something to watch out for. Frenzer is generally what I consider to be a ripoff brand. Their batteries are usually very low capacity. For instance, I bought a Frenzer replacement battery. This was for a Panasonic phone. The original battery was 650, and this replacement's only 500. So my phone's not even going to last as long as it would on the original battery. So here's the Frenzer listing, and this is exactly what I was talking about. These batteries are terrible, absolute garbage. Look at the capacity. They're only 350 milliamps. If you replace your 650 milliamp phone battery with a 350 milliamp battery, you're looking at about half the talk time. The other thing is it's nickel cadmium. Generally the nickel metal hydride ones are better, especially when the original one's nickel metal hydride. You don't want to downgrade the nickel cadmium. So definitely stay away from Frenzer. Their batteries are no good. So, so like this Flareon deal, this is pretty good. I like this listing because you can see that the plug is the same, and good price, about $3 a piece, well, more than like $3.20 a piece, $3.25. That's pretty reasonable. These batteries are going to last you a good long time, and they're good quality batteries. Same with these. I've used EBL a number of different times. You can look at the capacity ratings. You'll see it's same as the Flareon. It's 900 milliamps, nickel metal hydride. These are probably good too. You can also see the plug is the same. I would trust these as well. And you can see they got a good number of reviews. Same with the Flareon. You're looking at 2,200 reviews. That's a pretty reliable product. IMAH is a relatively newer brand, and so they're kind of still in like their beginning stages. They are a division of Flareon, and I've used their stuff before, and they're pretty good. So even though they don't have a lot of reviews, I would still say they're okay. So that's the same thing you're going to do for any of the battery packs. Now, what if let's say you have a Panasonic phone, and what if it has these batteries in it? Do not buy Panasonic branded batteries. And that's the same thing with these. Don't buy a Uniden replacement battery. It'll cost you like 20 bucks, and that's just ridiculous. So let me type in here. I'm just going to type in AAA NIM batteries. And same is the case here. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And also look at the reviews. Here's a good example. You can see we have the Panasonic branded batteries, and we have the EBL branded batteries. The Panasonic ones are almost twice as much as the EBLs. Let's take a look at their specifications. The Panasonic batteries are, let's see if they list the capacity anywhere. I don't see them listing the capacity anywhere, but I will tell you that the capacity of these Panasonic batteries is usually 700 or less. The EBL batteries are at least 1,000. So you're getting longer talk time, longer standby time, and they're much cheaper too. You can use any AAA size battery you want, as long as it's a low self-discharge battery. If it's not a low self-discharge battery, you're going to run into problems. But if you find that cheaper ones, like maybe at&t would be a little bit cheaper, I'm not sure, I haven't looked at all of them. But any of those other off-brand batteries, at&t, EBO, Sun Labs, look at all those. If they're NIM and they're at least 700 or 800 milliamps and they're low self-discharge, they'll probably work just fine. Another thing I want to mention here is we talked about the AAA size clips, oh my goodness, batteries. For the AA size batteries, you don't see these much anymore. These come out of the old 900 megahertz phones from 20 years ago. Uniden used these in a good number of their phones. I happen to like this size better because it's you can get a lot higher capacity replacements. So for instance, I'm going to type in the BT1015 here. And let's see here if I can find the Florian ones. Here we go. Yeah, you can see these are 1800 milliamps. These are only 650. So you're looking at almost 3 times the talk time and standby time if you buy these replacement batteries correctly. And unfortunately, when it comes to these AAA packs, I find 900 is about as high as I've been able to find them. And usually these are like 500 if you're at&t or VTech. Looking at Uniden, I think they were 650. There's actually some newer phones that use 300 milliamps of this size, and so I guess this would be a big increase over 300. But you just don't have quite the capacity increase when you're talking with those. So before we close out the video, let's talk about using the batteries, because there is a misconception that goes around about these batteries. So there's generally 2 types of batteries used in these phones. You have nickel cadmium batteries and you have nickel metal hydride batteries. The nickel cadmium batteries is a very old style battery and it's susceptible to the memory effect. The best way to explain the memory effect I've found is whatever capacity of the battery you don't use, you lose. So let's say you talk on the phone for an hour a day, then charge it back up. Let's say an hour of talk time takes up only 10% of the battery, so you charge it up at 90%. If you do that enough times, that 90% of the battery that you're not using, the battery will, if you will, forget about it, and you're only going to have that 10% that's usable. Now, if you always talk on your phone the same amount of time, I suppose that would be okay, but you know, if you want to talk on your phone an hour and a half one day, you're not going to have enough battery capacity to do that. Now, the nickel metal hydride battery does not so much have that problem. So, depending on the kind of battery you have, if you have a nickel cadmium battery in your telephone, you want to make sure that you run down the charge as much as possible before charging it back up again. Don't talk on the phone and then charge it up right after you just talked on it, you know, and you haven't used even half the battery. Make sure you let the battery run out before you charge it back up again, and that will make the battery last a lot longer. NIM batteries don't so much have that problem. They're fairly resistant to the memory effect, and so you can kind of charge it up whenever you want. The thing I found about these is that unlike the nickel cadmium battery, if you leave them sitting on the cradle for a long time, they'll go bad. These won't care. These are pretty resilient to overcharge, so you can leave these on the cradle for a while and you won't have a problem. But with these, I wouldn't leave these on the cradle for more than overnight, really. Take them off during the day, use it all day, and you know, unless your phone has run down a bit, leave it off all night too. You know, a lot of phones today have battery icons on them. So keep an eye on this battery icon. Let it run down. And you know, what I like to do is I don't put the phone back on charge until I see at least 1 pipper used up. Again, this has a nickel metal hydride battery in it, so the memory is not really going to be a problem, but it's always a good idea to cycle the battery down every so often and keep the cells active and used. It'll definitely help your battery last a lot longer. So hopefully this video was helpful to somebody. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can send me an email, or you can call in at 201-416-9584, and I will answer your questions.